Hello everyone, today I'm going to talk to you about a very interesting topic, which is postmodernism. It is a very interesting topic simply because it has multiple meanings and it has different aspects. Today I will first start with the meaning of postmodernism, when it started. And then I will explain a different aspect of postmodernism with reference to epistemology. In my opinion, the real meaning lies in epistemology. Firstly, post prefix means after. For example, postmodernism, after modernism, post-Marxism, after Marxism, post-Fordism, after Fordism, post-industrial society, after industrial society, post-oil crisis, post-war, after the oil crisis, after the Second World War. So when we say post, it mostly refers to an era which comes after what it is. If it is modernism, okay, then after modernism, after modernist era. Here, when we say post-modernism, mostly we mean actually after the oil crisis. That's why I prefer to use post-Fordism if I mean an era. But nevertheless, if you check the literature, you can see a very symbolic date which comes after modernism, especially with regards to the architecture. For example, modern architecture. It is a very iconic example, Pruitt-Igoe public housing complex. The end of this Pruitt-Igoe public housing complex is the symbol of a start of postmodernism. Symbolic date. If you're looking for a symbolic date, you can check this date. But I prefer oil crisis. But if you are interested in architecture, you may prefer this date. That's why destruction of those buildings also signifies the death of modern architecture and start of postmodernism. But post has other meanings, and postmodernism has other meanings too. Post means a critique. What kind of a critique? A very radical critique. That's why mostly I prefer to say that it is a rejection of what, for example, if you're talking about postmodernism, then it's a rejection of modernist ideas. Mostly I prefer to say epistemology. If you say post-Fordism, for example, you are radically criticizing and transforming Fordism. So when we say postmodernism, actually we say rejection of systemic modernism. What do I mean by that? I mean modernist epistemology. It is a rejection of objectivity. It's a rejection of neutrality. It's a rejection of social progress. It is a rejection of positivism. Modernist epistemology is positivism. Positivism means, or positivist epistemology means, researcher and reality are separate. Universals exist and real and I can get the universal truth. But when it comes to postmodernism, we should refer to subjectivism, including, by the way, constructionism. So they reject objectivism of positivist epistemology. According to objectivism, there can be one universal truth. Remember Taylorism, one best way. So Taylorism is a typical example of modernist epistemology. Taylor was an objectivist. But when it comes to postmodernism, we refer to subjectivism. So knowledge is created by the individual in the light of social backgrounds, social forces. So creation of a knowledge is not objective. It is based on your subjective narratives, subjective experiences. That's why there can be multiple interpretation of any given situation. That's why there is no one best way. There is no one single ultimate big T truth. It is subjective. It depends on you. It depends on me, according to postmodernist epistemology. We argue that postmodernism is a rejection of positivist epistemology. Postmodernism is subjectivist and it is a rejection of objectivism. So we can say that the truth is that there is no truth at all. If we are talking about postmodernism in a context of epistemology, we can argue that science is not objectivist. Science is not positivist. Science is a kind of convention. It is created by epistemic community. Since knowledge is subjective, since it is based on individual perceptions, for example, then perceptions of epistemic community conform science. We say that science can be constructed, can be created by scientists themselves. Science cannot be universal. Then, as Feyerabend says, anything goes. Everything is possible. If everything is possible, scientific theories cannot be superior to other types of knowledge. Science is just one of them. Hyperreality. Sometimes hyperreality can be real than reality. Suppose that there is a social reality, but it is manipulated. For example, you may remember this picture. It has been broadcasted by a very famous broadcasting agency in the world. But it was not a real. This picture was not taken during the Gulf War, but this picture was presented as reality. But actually it was not a reality. It was hyper-reality created by the broadcasting agency. Remember our reference to classical model of representative democracy. This is a typical example of modernist epistemology, because according to this perspective, people are aware of what they want, what they need. There are alternative packages, and I can choose one of them. I can calculate because I'm a rational person. I can maximize my benefit. and I can evaluate all of the alternatives, and then on the basis of the performance of my representatives, I can evaluate if he or she is successful or not. As you can see, according to this perspective, there is a possibility of achieving universal truth. I can know the performance of politicians. I can see social reality and I can take it for granted. But according to postmodernism, there is no such a thing, because there is no objective social reality. Social reality is manipulated. Wants or needs of people are manipulated, and we do not vote on the basis of packages presented by the politicians. They present us their image, manipulated image. This is not a real, this is something hyper-real. And we do not vote on the basis of their policies and their performance. We vote on the basis of manipulated information given us by, for example, advertisements. So here, actually, there is a manipulation of the social reality. That's why we cannot achieve one single truth. So according to postmodern view of science, reality is complicated. Reality is not holistic and harmonious. Reality is not mechanistic. You cannot simply predict. You cannot simply calculate. Why? Because there is no objectivity. There is an interaction. If this is the case, then there is no one single truth. That is postmodernism. Thank you for listening.